Good evening, everyone. It is Monday, March 4th, 2019 at 5 p.m. This is a regular meeting of the Oregon Village Board, which I'd like to call to order and request roll call, please.
Carpenter.
Here.
Glish.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Follig.
Here.
Boudreaux.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Staton.
Here, thank you. All present and accounted for. We'll go to item 3. I would like to mention, I think there's some folks here for the discussion about the speed limit on Wolf Street. We will have this ceremony and then take a 15-minute break prior to doing that, just so you know what the time frame will be. So I would like to welcome everyone to this annual Police Department Awards ceremony. Appreciate having this great crowd. It's a great testament to our department, and I'd like to turn it over to Chief Brian Ewell, please.
All right, please rise for the presentation of the colors by the Fitchburg Police Department's Honor Guard Unit and remain standing.
Detail. Attend. Who? Port. Arms. Forward. March. Detail. Halt. Left. Face. Shoulder. Arms. Ready. Cut. Freeze and arms. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shoulder. Arms. Order. Arms. Ready. Cut. Port. Arms. Ready. Two. Ready. Two. Ready. Two. Ready. Two. Ready. Two. Detail. Right. Face. Forward. March.
Please be seated. Thank you all for coming. We started the awards ceremony last year as a way to publicly recognize our officers for the great work they do in our community. While not all of the officers will receive awards tonight, I would like to take this opportunity to publicly thank all of them for the hard work they do on a daily basis. Thank you. So at this time, I would like to present a video for everyone to go through. I think it's very fitting of why we're here and what we do.
Mingling of saint and sinner, dust and deity. Called statistics, wave the fan over stinkers, underscore instances of dishonesty and brutality because they are news. What that really means is that they are exceptional, they are unusual, they are not commonplace. Buried under the fraud is the fact. And the fact is that less than 1/2% of policemen misfit that uniform. And that is a better average than you find among clergymen. What is a policeman? He of all men is at once the most needed and the most wanted. a strangely nameless creature who is sir to his face and a pig or worse behind his back. He must be such a diplomat that he can settle differences between individuals so that each will think he won, but if a policeman is neat, he's conceited. If he's careless, he's a bum. If he's pleasant, he's a flirt. If he's not, he's a grouch. He must make instant decisions which would require months for a lawyer, but if he hurries, he's careless. If he's deliberate, he's lazy. He must be first to an accident, infallible with diagnosis. He must be able to start breathing, stop bleeding, tie splints, and above all, be sure the victim goes home without a limb, or expect to be sued. The police officer must know every gun, draw on the run, and hit where it doesn't hurt. He must be able to whip two men twice his size and half his age without damaging his uniform and without being brutal. If you hit him, he's a coward. If he hits you, he's a bully. A policeman must know everything and not tell. He must know where all the sin is and not partake. The policeman from a single human hair must be able to describe the crime, the weapon, the criminal, and tell you where the criminal is hiding, but if he catches the criminal, he's lucky. If he doesn't, he's a dunce. If he gets promoted, he has political pull. If he doesn't, he's a dullard. The policeman must chase bum leads to a dead end, stake out 10 nights to tag one witness who saw it happen but refuses to remember. He runs files and writes reports until his eyes ache to build a case against some fellow who will get dealed out by a shameless, or an honorable who isn't honorable. The policeman must be a minister, a social worker, a diplomat, a tough guy, and a gentleman. And of course he'll have to be a genius because he'll have to feed a family on a policeman's salary.
So I thought that video was very telling of what we do and things here. I know I'm kind of dating myself with Paul Harvey. Most people probably don't even know who Paul Harvey is, but if you'll indulge me for a few minutes, I'd like to talk a little bit about the state of law enforcement. With music.
That would be the next video here. Sorry?
Unfortunately, law enforcement profession has become one of the most heavily scrutinized professions in the world. Officers do their jobs while often being verbally and physically assaulted by citizens for things such minor things as a traffic stop or a call for a suspicious vehicle. Oftentimes, the officer is simply trying to let people know of the infraction so it can be repaired or check out a complaint that's been called in by a citizen. Case in point, I was out with two of our officers the other day in a simple traffic stop. Both occupants were young men who attempted to leave the traffic stop. And then when stopped, they both proceeded to verbally berate the officers, calling them every name in the book for no apparent reason other than they could. Because they knew that we can do nothing. We cannot charge them. The problem for us is that doesn't ever change. Why? Because there are no repercussions for this abusive behavior. The law says that law enforcement officers cannot be victims of disorderly conduct. Does that make any sense? And I've heard people say, but that's what you signed up for. Honestly, that's a little bit foolish. We signed up to make a difference. We didn't sign up to be verbally assaulted or physically attacked. So you heard in the video, Paul Harvey said that less than 0.5% misfit the uniform. Now, like I said, I know I'm dating myself with Paul Harvey, but I bet most of you didn't realize that he recited this over 40 years ago. And it was because his father was a police officer who was shot and killed. So I wondered, with all the negative press that law enforcement gets today, are those statistics still true? So I did a little research, and the most recent stats that I saw, and I've seen we have approximately 900 1,000 to a little over 1 million law enforcement officers nationwide. The last statistics show that only 6,596 of us are ever charged with a crime. That means that only 0.006% of us actually misfit the uniform. So it's lower today than it was 40 years ago. Tell me what other profession you can say that about. There is simply no other profession whose members are more professional, more ethical, more deserving of your respect than law enforcement. So the next time you see a video of an officer doing something bad, first ask yourself, is this everything that happened that you were seeing? Or is it just part of the incident? And then ask yourself, would this really have happened if the person would have simply obeyed the law or followed the lawful order of the officer? The answer would probably always likely be no. So for those of you who are new to the board and for those who may be watching and didn't see this last year, we created the awards ceremony to instill a sense of pride in our officers for the work that they do and for you to show your support of them. While it's unfortunate that our profession is still being cast in a negative light by media who feed the false narratives and misperceptions of the few, most of the members of this community are not fooled by the false narratives. I have personally seen the support this community gives our officers. I've seen it in the form of thank you notes. I've seen it in the form of treats being dropped off at the police department. I've seen it in the form of donations that the community makes to enhance our work through such events as Safety Day, Safety Camp, National Night Out, our K-9 fundraisers, our K-9 breakfast. These events not only give us a chance to interact with the community in a positive manner, but gives our community members an opportunity to show their support for us and to interact with us. So I would like to say thank you to all of you who support the police department. I would also like to thank the local restaurants, because I know during the K-9 breakfast, they're probably not very happy with us, because the fire department becomes one of the largest eateries in Dane County. So we do appreciate their support for allowing us to raise funds. We'd like to thank you for your support, and I'd also like to thank the village board for allowing us to hijack their meeting for a few minutes to present this award ceremony publicly, so thank you. So before we get started, I want to give you a little background on the awards process. Every year, we ask our members to nominate their colleagues for awards they feel they're deserving based on the criteria and objectives that we lay out for fulfilling them. We then have an awards committee that reviews the nominations to determine which awards will be given out. So tonight we have 5 awards that are going to be given out. They are awards for Outstanding Service, Chiefs Award, the J. Edgar Hoover Award, Criminal Investigations, and of course, Officer of the Year. So the first award will be for Outstanding Service. Will Officer Ted Gilbertson please come forward? Looking sharp, by the way. The Outstanding Service Award is given for sustained delivery of a high level of service, which demonstrates professional excellence. An employee whose daily work indicates an awareness of departmental operating philosophy, goals and objectives, of an exceptional competence at fulfilling these objectives. Officer Gilbertson has mentored many of our young officers through the field training program, as well as provided exceptional training as an instructor to our staff and to members of the training consortium in many disciplines, to include firearms, active shooter, and emergency vehicle operations. So thank you, Ted, for your continued work, your mentoring of our young officers, and the work you do in our training consortium to maintain a high level of training that we receive on an annual basis. Would you like to say a few words, or you're good? Okay, the next award is the J. Edgar Hoover Award. This award is given for successfully completing additional training to garner new skills in the field of criminal justice. It recognizes officers who continually seek a lifetime of education and advancement. Would Officer Hatfield and Detective Sergeant Chad Schaub please come forward? Unfortunately, as we all know, it seems as though active threats and school shootings have become the norm in our society. In order to provide essential training and to prepare for the unthinkable, we reached out to the Oregon School District and other businesses in the community to help them prepare and hopefully prevent this from happening in our community. Detective Sergeant Schaub and Officer Hatfield were both instrumental in providing active shooter training to staff at multiple schools in the Oregon School District, the Village of Oregon staff, and other businesses within the village. Their contribution allowed our agency to act upon our vision statement, which entails working in cooperation with our community to be proactively identify and to address areas of needed improvement, and to continually provide the level of service and safety that our village deserves. So thank you, Chad and Jeremy, for your dedicated service, for providing the essential training to our community members. You guys want to say anything? You might as well stay up here, because you're going to get another word, so just relax. So the next award is the Criminal Investigations Award. So this award is to recognize quality achievements in managing and conducting criminal investigations, particularly in identifying and solving significant cases. This award is given to employees whose insight, work ethic, job knowledge, and determination goes beyond the normal investigation to help solve significant case in the village that leads to life and/or significant property savings and or recovery. And as you may recall, we had a burglary in our community not too long ago that was extremely troubling in that it involved the theft of firearms. What you probably didn't know was this burglary was solved and the suspects were arrested and eventually convicted because of the hard work of Detective Sergeant Chad Schaub and then Detective Jeremy Hatfield. What you also may not have known was the primary piece of evidence was a hair found at the location used to tie one of the main suspects to the scene. That hair was found on or near human feces left at the scene. This goes to show you that our work is not always glamorous, but officers are willing to do what it takes to keep this community safe. So outstanding work, Chad and Jeremy. All right, that's it. No, you want to talk? All right, you sure? Okay, this next award is the only award that is voted on and solely determined by fellow officers. This award is presented by the Optimist Club and is for Officer of the Year. Would Officer Corey Rayfeld and Maynard Stair please stand, come forward. Maynard has a few words he'd like to say.
Thank you, Chief. President Steve, members of the village board, Chief Buell, members of the department and staff, and all the citizens here in attendance to this exceptional award program. What is optimism? Internationally, the Optimist Code is to develop a philosophy of life using the tenets to promote active interest in good government, civic affairs, respect for law, patriotism, international accord, and friendship. So what are we, members of the Oregon Brooklyn Optimist Club, doing in pursuit of this philosophy? In years past, our club has supported 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders in the pursuit of communication skills and athletic skills by providing those people with shirts and gym trunks in the gym. Ongoing today is a continuing program to recognize rising stars. These rising stars are young people in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grades that we recognize about every 2 months in cooperation with the Oregon School District teachers for their excellence and achievements in establishing friendships and communications. Also, we have stars at the high school level. Each year, the high school communications people, the guidance counselors and teachers recommend 8 students that we identify as students of the month. These students of the month are eligible to qualify in the essay program each year, and the finalists will receive a $1,000 scholarship from the Optimist Club. In addition to that, we have another ongoing activity called the Splash Pad. What the dickens is a splash pad? Well, I remember when my kids were growing up, and I'm sure many of you do too, when it was a hot summer day, you turn on the lawn sprinkler for them so that they could go out and enjoy that refreshing activity. The Optimist Club has received permission from the Oregon School District to erect a splash pad adjacent to the Oregon swimming pool between Spring Street and Perry Park Street, so that we will someday have this water treatment for our young kids on hot summer days. And anybody in the Oregon School District is eligible to participate in this activity. Of course, none of this would be accomplished without the help of moms and dads, teachers, and members in our community, whatever they may be in, whatever their professional life would be. I talked about respect for law. Annually, the Optimist Club in Oregon, in cooperation with the Oregon Police Department, selects to choose one officer that epitomizes the good code of ethics for police officers and continues to work for improved community relations while on duty and off duty. So I ask you at this time to help me recognize and show appreciation to the Oregon Optimist Club Police Officer of the Year, Corey Rachel.
Don't go anywhere.
I usually ask for an extemporaneous pizza of about 10 minutes.
Well, Maynard said all I need to say, but I would like to read just a few comments that were made on your behalf for the people that nominated you. So you'll notice kind of a theme that comes through here. We'll see if it works out. So some of the words that were said was Corey has gained the nickname of Smiles, as he always has a smile on his face. Yep, that's true. Corey completes every task with a smile on his face. Corey maintains a high quality of service in every call he handles and is eager to learn. He is very proactive with traffic enforcement as well as community service. He's always willing to help his fellow officers. He always has a smile on his face. His positive energy helps keep the whole shift going. Corey is a self-starter. He works hard. He's always smiling and his upbeat attitude is infectious. He is very personable and possesses excellent communication skills, which are valuable traits to the law enforcement field. So congratulations, Corey. Smiles. So the final award is the Chiefs Award. This is the first time that this award has been given out, although we've all been doing it for 2 years in all fairness, so. But it's the first time. This award is for an employee that is maintained, nominated by a member of the command staff, and is ultimately selected by me, hence the name. The recipient is chosen for their reliability, quality of work, initiative, professionalism, and uniqueness of contribution. They reflect the department's core values and exhibit good work ethic and set positive standards within the department. They are someone who recognizes service first. So would School Resource Officer Kevin Gowan please come forward? The words "service first" are the true essence of this award. Kevin was asked to step into a difficult situation last year and has done so with admiration. Kevin agreed to take on this challenge for the benefit of both the department and the school district, and has truly done an amazing job. I couldn't be more appreciative of the work that he has done, and I truly want to thank you for everything that you have done in your service first quality. Thanks, Kevin. Maybe I should read this. Hold on. Just stand up there. So it says Chiefs Award of Excellence presented to Kevin Gowan for your dedication to duty, your professionalism, your uniqueness of contribution, and your service first mentality. There you go, sir. Okay, this concludes our awards ceremony. I would like to invite everyone into the community room for cake and refreshments. I would also like to thank everyone for coming. Again, I'd like to thank the board. I'd also like to thank the Fitchburg Police Department for lending us their honor guard unit for the night. They did an amazing job. So thank you again to all of our officers.
Congratulations to all the recipients from the board, and we appreciate the nice job you all do.
So if you guys could do us a favor and just lift the chairs around.
Not yet. I will. 15 minutes.
Last year for this, and suddenly you flip your chair around, and you're like
Right here.
How much are you doing?
Good to see you.
I thought you were retiring.
Well, now they're super rough, they're in front of the speaker table. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, and that's why you're like.
Yes, you did.
You'll have to retire then.
For a little bit.
I'm a little too old.
Yeah.
Nice job, Chief. Thank you.
I just felt like.
Thanks for the warning.
You could go my way.
Yeah. No. I think we should have them behind the desk so that, otherwise they're talking to people's backs.
I don't know that I'd be good.
He's the groundskeeper for the high school. Yes.
Must be people.
Yeah, she was in hospice. She had cancer.
Sounds like that's going to happen. Lower the speed. So why won't they do it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cute, I love that. I love how they did. Oh, no. That's okay. Thank you for bringing it. Love the hat. That is awesome.
12-14. When you get down to Old Motel, they drop that 40, 50.
Three friends have
Yeah, I'm curious why they do that.
three friends have babies over the weekend, and another one was in use this
As you
session.
know, I think
It's my business.
middle of the road on the south side of Washington Township. There are
Remember those days.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think that's an issue, though. I think the township is okay.
I'll ask her.
For the most part.
Are we on break?
Yeah, we have 15 minutes.
Oh, we're on break, yeah. Let's go see.
So we can get cake?
Yep.
Yeah, there's 15 minutes till.
Okay.
That's what's going on.
I guess we're on a break.
Thanks, Jerry. I'll make sure nobody steals my seat.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants that seat. Obviously, nobody ran.
It's true. It's true.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Oregon Village Board. We are at item 5, public appearances. Item A, discussion with public and possible board action regarding possibly lowering Wolf Street, Dane County Highway MM speed limit. Recommended motion is to approve requesting Dane County to lower the speed limit 25 miles per hour on Wolf Street, and another motion is to approve purchasing electronic speed indicators from TAPCO in the amount of $7,467.68 per Wolf Street. So we will be taking comments from the public. I'm assuming that's what most
Hey,
of you are
Jeff,
here
why
for.
don't you wait? I'll get him. I'll get him.
Anyone want to lead off? Yeah, come up to the microphone, please. Identify yourself with the address, and we'll be all set. And welcome.
Hi, my name's Robert Fordrain. I live on 922 Johnson Avenue. I'm not so much concerned about the speed limit, but more the overall situation on that road. I drive to work every day on that road, go over the little hill, and for those of you that drive the same road, you've probably noticed that there's been a big increase of traffic coming from Brooklyn into Oregon, especially from about 7 till, I would say, 8:30. So I understand you want to lower the speed limit, but I look at this a little bit bigger problem. When you look at the current amount of traffic and the situation, we have a hill there. And for those of you that have gone up and down that hill, you can't see what's behind that hill, for one. Number two, I've seen more accidents happening on that hill when it gets slippery. I've seen cars not making it up that hill and cars sliding off that hill. So if you lower the speed after you get down that hill and traffic starts backing up, you're gonna have people slide into each other in the winter. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that there's no walking path, no bike path along that road. Just last week, I was driving to work and there was a kid walking on the road next to the snowbank, on the road. I know 25 miles an hour or 35 miles an hour, if somebody hits that person, they're gonna be seriously hurt. So I think, if you're looking at a solution, there needs to be a walking path for the kids walking to school, or a bike path, or something that serves both. And the other thing that I'm concerned about is the new subdivision that's being built on top of that hill. And I understand there's gonna be an intersection there on top of that hill. You cannot see the traffic coming out of that subdivision if you go up that hill or down that hill. And I envision there's gonna be more problems with traffic accidents on that hill, and frankly, I think that hill should be dug out so the road is straight, and then you can deal with the traffic coming in and out of town more efficiently than just changing the speed limit. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
This is my daughter. She
Okay.
drives the same road.
I also drive on the same road, and I have seen, waiting on that intersection, I watch the cars go up the hill, I've seen cars unable to make it up when the roads are icy. I've seen cars slide off right on the crest of the top, and I can only imagine how much more damaging it'll be if there's that intersection right on top of the hill with that kind of inability to see. My other thought is if the reason why the speed limit is going to be lowered on that road is that the traffic from the middle school is unable to turn into the road, my thought would be perhaps also having, instead of a speed limit, lowering a stoplight or some kind of intersection that people can easily navigate around, because I've been on that road before and it is very impossible to get out. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot to mention, we plan about 3 minutes per speaker, and you were right on that, so it's a good way to start. Who would like to speak next? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Stuart Wise. I live at 4820 Oregon Trail. I drive that road frequently myself. The thing that occurs to me when we start to talk about let's lower the speed limit is didn't hear anyone actually tell me what the problem was that we were trying to address. You know, is there too many injuries compared to other roads? Is there too many pedestrian accidents? I mean, these are problems. Lowering the speed limit is a solution, but I'm not sure what the solution is for. Chief Fool, I think you authored the original email. Perhaps you have some insight.
Well, it's in the memo, if you saw the memo at all, but it was, yeah. The primary purpose is to allow for safer management of the roadway there, especially coming off of Pleasant Oak and Wolf Street. It is almost, you know, it's very difficult to turn onto Wolf Street going in either direction. And so what that does is it causes a huge backlog, and it's also a safety concern. I drive that every day, and there is countless opportunities for accidents at that intersection. People have to drive very aggressively to get out onto Wolf Street, and so they take chances that are going to at some point lead to a bad accident, and I'm really concerned about that. So with the school, the pedestrian traffic that comes through there, that is one of the main reasons that I suggested lowering the speed limit. I know there are other solutions, but they're not all as cost efficient as lowering the speed limit.
Did we have an opportunity for, by the way, I completely agree with your assessment.
Yeah,
Having driven it, I've
Yeah.
witnessed exactly the same things as well. Have we had an opportunity to perhaps have a traffic study done by someone who's maybe better at traffic study sorts of things? I mean, one of the things that occurred to me, and I'm not that expert, by the way, is what if you made that problem road go one way the other way, so that it went to an area that was better able to handle the traffic load? But again, I'm not the traffic study expert. Had we considered maybe doing that?
We just kind of a little background information just with this area. Wolf Street is still a county highway, and so the Village of Oregon does not plow it, and we really don't have jurisdiction over it per se. So it is and the county and the village have been kind of taking steps over the years to transition from their jurisdiction to our jurisdiction. We did that last year with a section on Jefferson Street where we had roadway reconstructed. County helped out with that, and then we transferred the jurisdiction to the Village of Oregon. This street is still under the jurisdiction of the Dane County Highway and County Highway District. So, you know, I know people have suggested at times, well, streetlights, you know, at Pleasant Oak and Wolf Street there. We see that as a future item, you know, but at this time, there's really nothing on the books for streetlights there. And with it not being part of our jurisdiction, the work that we do out there can be somewhat limited. And so I think this is part of one of those things, just as much as sometimes when we try to solve things, maybe we'll first look at signage, and then we will look at what other opportunities there are to make changes. And, you know, reducing speed is just one of those things that, you know,
But the
that can be done.
intersecting road,
Pleasant
that
Oak.
is
Pleasant Oak.
Village of Oak.
That is, yes, that's Village of Oregon Road, yes.
So that we could change.
We
to one
could.
way.
There's a lot of cars that come out of that area, and you know when Autumn Woods, which is the subdivision that's going up on the hill there, when that does phase 1C, I believe, is that right? When phase 1C that they did phase 1A last year, phase 1B is this year, and we're not sure when they'll do phase 1C. But when phase 1C does occur, then that will create the intersection, another intersection with the highway at that location. And, you know, our feeling is hopefully that will take some of the pressure off of that area for traffic, but there's still gonna be the same amount of traffic, you know, entering and exiting onto the roadway. It's just at two locations instead of one.
Well, I'll end my statement with essentially, it would seem wise to me if we could engage a traffic study for people who are experts at this sort of thing to make a high-quality recommendation that would offer the greatest success.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
But thanks for the time.
You bet.
Thank you.
Just a question. Mike, you handed out an email earlier.
Mhm.
Is this related all to the question that the resident?
That came
asked?
from the chief. Maybe Brian can explain that.
Yeah, that's just, we wanted it out there longer. That is just a traffic count and speed study in that area. And it just shows you what speed traffic is going. And predominantly, they're going 40-plus miles an hour through that area. So that's obviously a significant issue.
Okay. Anyone else like to comment? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Marcel Thoma, and I do live at 111 West Wolf, and I'm inclined to think that if we could slow traffic there, it would be helpful. I agree with the chief, pulling out of even that driveway, and there's another building just south of at 139 Wolf Street. It's hard to, if you want to make a left turn out of those, it's difficult because oftentimes traffic is going faster than is anticipated, and there are also there's a lot of pedestrian traffic in that area, as the other fellow has attested, it just seems like reasonable that it should be a 25-mile-an-hour zone. I suggest to somebody that there should be a roundabout or a circle at the end of Pleasant Oak, but of course, we don't have the pockets for that. But thank you.
Okay, thanks, Marcel. Anyone else? Welcome.
Rick Way. I actually live down in Brooklyn. I'm one of those commuters cutting up the road. My son actually went to school at the middle school there, so I'm very familiar with that intersection and trying to turn left. I'd like to kind of repeat some of the previous points that were made. Reducing a speed limit doesn't necessarily reduce speed. That's what we're already seeing in the 35 zone. People are traveling at 45 miles an hour. So just putting up a new sign that says 25 isn't likely to actually impact the safety of that intersection significantly. And that's where I think bringing in a traffic engineer who could actually look at the situation, determine what could be done to improve the safety of these intersections would be way more beneficial than arbitrarily setting a speed limit. It's kind of counter to what you would think, but actually making the road less safe causes people to slow down. Right now, that road has very large easements on either side. It's got no line of sight blocking. It's straight as an arrow. So people don't have any reason to slow down. They look at it, they're like, this road is perfectly safe for me to travel 45 miles an hour at. That's where we get into the 85th percentile, where you're looking at what is the predominant travel speed on the road. So there may be things we can do that are very low cost that can bring that speed down, that we don't have to go to the expense of traffic lights or a traffic circle system, where just changing some lane markings and planting some bushes may actually slow people down more.
Okay. Thanks, Rick. Welcome.
Tony Smith, 831 Fox Run Court. I've got a lot of experience coming out of that neighborhood, and like Chief has said in his email, it gets very dangerous trying to get into traffic from Foxborough Drive, because people are coming down that road going 50. I think if you lower those speed limits down to 35, then they'll be going 45, and I can get out a little easier. We've got a lot of traffic in there from golf during the summer when there's no school. There's plenty of traffic coming from Brooklyn all year. And I don't know if anyone's thought about this, but the GPS driving directions to get to Brooklyn, it's about a horse apiece if you take 14 versus Wolf Street. If we lower the speed limit, we're going to have probably more people going 14 if they use their GPS, like I do for traffic at night coming home from work. So I think we'd reduce some of the Brooklyn traffic and other area traffic by lowering the speed limit, because GPS will just tell you to go 14 instead. What else was I going to say? Yeah, and the middle school, yeah, we've seen numerous cars coming out of there, and they darn near go in the ditch trying to get out of there because you're having to go so fast to get out of there with the traffic coming down 50 miles an hour. So yeah, I think the 25 would make it a lot easier to get into traffic for everybody, from the middle school and for us coming out of the neighborhood that we're living in. The neighborhood up above that's going in, I think that's gonna make things even worse for people coming over the hill and people trying to get out with the 35+ mile an hour. If you have that lowered, I think those people are gonna have a lot easier time getting into traffic, and I think accidents will be a lot smaller as far as how bad they are, as far as if there is accidents, if you lower the speed limit. People are speeding all the time up there. Just last night, I let my dogs out, looked over, and an officer parked on Pleasant Oak, right near the dentist office there. Probably 30 seconds after he turned his lights off in his car. First car that came through, he flipped on and drove off after him going up the hill, because people are going 45+ miles an hour before it gets to that 45 mile an hour spot. So we're way for this slowdown. Semis especially also, and dump trucks coming through there, they aren't slowing down much at all coming through. They're going way over the speed limit. So, yeah, we're for it in our neighborhood.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Welcome, Jim.
Hello, Jim Hagstrom, and 4696 Rutland Dunn. My question for you is I think everybody here is explaining the same thing, that we all know that it's part of the growing pains of the village. There's more traffic, there's more people. My concern is if you reduce the speed limit on Wolf Street, I think you will have similar to the effect of when you have either bad weather or maybe traffic accidents where you bunch cars up even more. And I think you'll see more of what the chief was talking about. You have to become more aggressive to get out onto Wolf Street from Pleasant Oak. Because if cars are tighter because the speed is lower, I think it's going to be even more challenging to get out onto Wolf Street. So while I don't disagree with reducing the speed for safety, I know there's been traffic studies done. I know 20 years ago we talked about 4-laning Wolf Street, and I know funding just probably isn't there. And I understand with it being a county road, you need to get everybody on the same page to do things like that. So I don't speak against the reduction in speed, but I am concerned about the effect of reducing the speed there, because I think what's more important is to have more space for the amount of vehicles that are traveling that roadway. And I know changing the speed probably doesn't increase anybody's cost, but I'm not sure it's going to create the solution that you're hoping that it will. I guess that's the long and short of it from my perspective.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Anyone else have comments they'd like to make on Wolf Street? Okay, so we'll turn it back to the board. We could start with the motion if someone wanted to make it, and then have discussion on that motion.
So I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
That's to lower the speed limit to 25 miles per hour, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So we have that motion second, so discussion and questions, please. Yeah.
So a few points. First, regards to sidewalk, I was just talking to Mike about that. The sidewalk to go along Wolf Street to make it safer for kids to walk to school. That's already in the capital improvement plan. It's just a matter of where it is in the priority and when it's going to get done. Second, I think that there are things we can do right now and there are things that we need to do down the road. And what we can do right now is lower the speed limit, but I definitely agree that down the road, and Mike's talked about getting a traffic study in place, and the possibility that there might need to be a controlled intersection there has come up before in our discussions, and I definitely see something happening in that intersection, especially as Autumn Ridge comes online. And then third, as much as I hate it, these traffic control lights, these electronic speed indicators, they really worked when we had this problem on Highway CC, Jefferson Street over by Alpine. We were having real problems with people not being able to get across Highway CC over by Alpine Parkway, but when we put these electronic speed indicators, it by and large took care of the problem. And then with a few police stings, it kind of reminds people.
Enforcement.
Enforcement.
Yes, there you go.
It kind of reminds people, so.
That's probably the word you want to avoid there.
So I do think that in the short run, this is a solution that's going to help, If nothing else, it's going to change things and allow us to measure again, and I do think in the long run, the traffic study is the right way to go, the sidewalk and controlling the intersection. So those are my comments.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, and I think this will be the first step in what might come next, see how this works out. So, Amanda?
So, I have a question. The thing that concerns me probably the most about reducing the speed limit is the stories of people not being able to get up the hill in the winter or come down kind of fast and not be able to break down to the speed limit. And I'm wondering, because that part of the road where the hill is definitely county road, do we have any way to ask them to increase plowing or put salt down up there? Can we help fix that in some way?
Definitely, if it becomes a problem. I mean, I think so. And I was going to recommend maybe a slight modification to the motion that you can consider. Instead of lowering it to 25, I think you would, because we've done a stepwise lowering. 25 is on Wolf Street out to Fox Run or Foxborough Drive, but then it steps up to 35 and then 45 once it hits the southern boundary. So those, if you look on, right now it's 45 all the way through from Foxborough Drive all the way out until it hits 55 out near Kennedy Park Drive, and then it's 35 from the downtown. Whereas instead of, and it does step down now, we're just kind of changing that step process down by 10 miles an hour. So I just so it's clear in your motion and what you vote on. And Amanda, to address your, absolutely, we can always request Dane County to, if there is a problem, I'm not familiar with it, and I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I don't drive out there a lot, so, but if it were a continuing problem, absolutely, we would look at what we can ask them to do over there.
So Jeff, you're asking you're offering up the option of amending the motion so that it goes from 25 to 35?
Well, no, I would amend the motion to say, recommend to Dane County the proposed speed limit map as shown in the packet. That's what I would, because that shows the stepwise location as well as the placement of the speed indicator signs. Would be my if you want to be clear, other than just lowering the speed limit 25, we want to make sure that Dane County is clear on what we're recommending.
I appreciate the clarity, and I would be in favor of amending that. I'm not sure, I've never done that before though, so is that something?
Yeah. Are you okay with that, Jeff?
Yeah, so.
If that's the
Based
recommendation.
on the motion would be proposing the map that's just presented on the speed limit.
So they made this motion, and now Jeff is asking that they amend it so that we would just reference this map to show Dane County.
So the first motion was to.
Right here, approve requesting Dane County lower speed limit to 25 on Wolf Street. And Jeff Rowell is asking that they amend it to say show.
To show Dane County the map?
The map, because it shows the step zones in there, 25, 35, and.
Oh, to recommend the
Yeah.
approval of the changes shown
Right,
on the map?
Yep.
That's a good clarification.
So if the second, the person that made the motion second agrees with that, that's all you need to do.
Well, there's, technically.
Technically, they should vote on this.
They should do an amendment. Should approve the amendment first.
Okay.
And then do the main motion.
Okay.
I'll make that amendment then.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
So
you,
we
Matt.
have that motion and second to propose an amendment to the original motion to have Dane County change the speed limits as indicated on the map as presented by Director of Public Works Jeff Rowell. Okay, I think we got all that.
Yep.
Okay, so is there further discussion? I would support this, just a couple quick comments. Coming in from Brooklyn down that hill, you just kind of roll down that. You have to be real careful. I usually make it, my wife's in the car, I'm slowed down then, but otherwise it's a little iffy. And I worked the middle school a number of years, so I'm aware of the difficulty of coming off Pleasant Oak and getting out there. So I certainly think that this would be a wise thing to do. It's not a very long distance, it's not going to slow anybody down or cost anybody any time. And as one of the speakers said, if you're going slower, there's a crash, it probably won't be quite as bad. Randy?
I'm just going to say, I think it's probably not the ultimate solution at the end, but it sounds like a reasonable first step, but
yeah,
can continue to look at it.
Yeah, I think it's like Jeff said, it's a good place to start. We'll see how that works and if more needs to be done, so. And it's been commented at some point in the future, there will probably be some stoplights along that road someplace, so.
So that leads into my question is, as 1C comes online or in preparation for 1C, will we be implementing a traffic study or starting to consider one at the time? Is there?
Well, Jeff, you want to answer or should I answer? I mean, we had the developer looked at that intersection as part of the approval for the plat. The intersection you're talking about by the hill,
Yeah.
they had to do a.
Well, they had to do a site study analysis to determine what the safe speed was through that area based strictly on site distances. And I believe, forgive me here, but I believe it was okay for 45 and above. This even helps that because this would be 35 through there. So I have really no doubt that it would at least pass the geometric criteria for a vertical hill at that location at 35 miles an hour. That doesn't mean that's what it would be forever, but.
So, and then we're going to be talking to the school district later this week, Jeff and I and the chief, about doing a traffic study at RCI and at the middle school because of the issues we're having there.
Yeah.
And one of the things we could do is we talked to Strand about maybe looking at the intersection but I mean, at some point, we'll do the same thing we're doing at Park in Janesville.
Right.
You know, but at this point, we don't have that budgeted.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions or comments?
I just have a question. Is that the town of Oregon on the other side of the hill, or what municipality is that?
Town of Oregon.
Town of Oregon.
So to one of the earlier comments, could we talk to the town of Oregon and ask them if they'd be willing to slow the speed limit down on the other side of the hill at the bottom so that people weren't cresting the hill at 45?
We are, it would be 35 over the top of that hill, and then bottoms out pretty much a little bit beyond there will be, before that it'll be 45.
It's still a county highway. So it's really a county decision. I mean, we're making.
I understand.
Yeah.
We're going to make a recommendation to the county.
Yep.
My question was, could we talk to the town and see if we could extend it out even further for the reasons that were explained, and whether the town would be willing to approach the county?
Oh, I see. I got you. We could ask them.
Yeah, I think that's worth asking.
Sure.
It's like I said, my experience, you hit the top of that hill, whatever speed you have, it's going to continue a long ways down that hill if you don't even accelerate. So. Anything else on this motion? So we have the motion second to request having Dane County lower the speed limit based on the proposed speed limit map that's in our packet. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for your input. We appreciate it.
You have a second. And I can vote on the main motion.
You just amended the main motion.
Okay.
Now,
Oh, now we got to do the.
now the main motion, so just one more vote.
And you have a second motion?
Now the motion is to approve the original motion as amended.
Okay. Okay, so we have the motion second to approve the original motion as amended. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks. Learning this stuff way too late in my career here, so.
Better late than never, Steve.
One thing.
Well, I don't know about that.
It's a cautionary tale, and I certainly don't want to be an alarmist, but I watched Sun Prairie struggle with this issue of County Highway C as it started to build up. And there was an intersection, Ironwood Drive, as it intersected with County Highway C, was an uncontrolled intersection. And it was a dangerous, uncontrolled intersection, and people kept saying this is a dangerous, uncontrolled intersection, but it was the same issue. It's a county highway, it's not a city street, we don't have jurisdiction, et cetera. And it took a fatality in that intersection to get stoplights up. And to me, that's just not acceptable. And I understand that it's a county issue, but yet we've got the village on both sides of it. But for somebody to have to die before a stoplight can go up is not okay. So I just want to put that on the record, that we have to have some urgency around this. I think in a way that's a little bit unique to some of the projects that we do that are being jostled back and forth. To me, this is absolute high priority, and it has to stay there until it gets fixed. Or it'll become a high priority the wrong way.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, so our next recommended motion is to approve purchasing electronic speed indicators from TAPCO in the amount of $7,467.68 for Wolf Street.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, this is something that I feel was just an important part of this whole idea of lowering the speed, and I think it was Jeff was exactly, I think you said how effective they were out on CC, and you're exactly right. The neat thing with these, though, actually, that we've added, or that they've added to this, is there's a complete data collection component with these now. So there's a radar data collection. So not only, I mean, it's obviously using a radar to generate the speed, but these are Wi-Fi so that chief or anybody with the right information can go and actually just drive by, pick up the data from that, and we can kind of see if enforcement is being effective without having the speed trailer out there and all that type of stuff. So, and these are solar controlled, so we don't have to run power to them. They've been very effective everywhere else. And you see two costs in here, and the only difference in the cost is the higher priced ones have a metal box. This one has a polycarbonate box.
So tell me about solar control, Jeff, because
Solar.
in a couple of different instances, both on Highway CC and coming into town on Janesville, I've seen the lights black out.
Correct.
Does that mean that they're not working, or they're just not flashing the speed at me?
That means that for some reason or another, either the battery is, a lot of times it happens when we just quite frankly haven't had sun for a while. And we call that February. You know, this year it seemed like we never got any sun. And I noticed that we'll get calls of people say, oh, it's not working. And we'll have a sunny day and then it's working again. We do have these, TAPCO's offering now a program that we're gonna look at for budget for next year. That actually comes around and they evaluate them once a year, kind of do a service check on them, which I'll probably be recommending. However, for the most part, it's usually just because we just haven't had sun, or we have snow on the panels.
Is there a battery backup option for any of these?
They're all battery operated.
I get that the solar generates the battery, but is there a backup in case the solar is not generating enough power?
The battery is.
But then the batteries are dying and they're not being replaced?
Correct, because there's not enough solar power coming into that.
So there is no third source of power?
No.
There's only the one source of power, and that's the sun to the battery to the equipment?
The battery is the main source of power. The solar, the only thing the solar is there for, to recharge the battery.
Got it.
Yeah.
How long do those batteries last, generally?
That's a great
I feel like
question.
we've
Apparently
talked
until the
about
sun
it
goes
before,
away.
but- Till February?
I mean, normally several days, but again, like in this kind of temperature, I mean, we had the trailer out there and it was super, super cold and the batteries lasted in that trailer for a day. You know, under warmer conditions, you know, it'll last longer. But I mean, it should last a couple days at least. A new
Oh,
consideration.
I meant like, before the battery would have to be replaced, just 'cause general life of the battery. Sorry.
We've been replacing those about every 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
I think on average, yeah. I thought you were meaning how long the batteries last when, for
Well,
flashing
clearly
the
not
light.
long enough.
Yes, yes.
Other questions or comments? Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, is that, I assume that was a budgeted item?
You have assumed incorrectly.
Okay.
No, this is something that will actually, and this, I've been working with Lisa and Mike in the last couple of days, and we've been evaluating our borrowed money for the street projects, and we've located funding in the street fund that we could fund these.
From borrowing?
From previously borrowed funds that we ended up.
Actually, Jeff, I added this, and if we do that thing with the school to the 2019
Oh,
borrowing.
that's right, okay.
Yeah. It'd be in the 2019 borrowing.
So it is gonna be borrowing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
I was just wondering how we're gonna pay for it.
Yep.
So I would mention a couple considerations going forward. One, and I just noticed these on Willie Street, I'm up there quite a bit because my son's business is there. They now have the flashing signs on the side, but they have a pole that goes up and over, and it's actually over the street. And it has a significant impact, I think, because it's right in the driver's field of vision without seeing anything on the side.
That's for the flashing beacons.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for the speed indicator
Yeah.
signs, yeah.
Yeah, they're
For
on
the-
the side end there when the
and-
beacons are done.
Yeah, those are used for high traffic time of, or in this situation, like in Willie Street, where it's a very tight corridor,
Yeah.
where you're trying to get a lot of that, attention. We actually contemplated those out on CC
Yeah.
because that's such a wide road. We thought we'd see how good compliance was going to be, and it turned out we didn't need them there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Another thing going forward, and I was in a different country about a year and a half ago, and they had the same signs we have that flash your speed. And if you were at the speed limit or below it, the next thing it flashed, it said, "Thank you." And it was really a nice way to come into a community when that happened. Like, we appreciate that you're following the speed limit. I'd encourage you to think about that going forward also.
They said thank you, not Donka or
It was Ireland.
Gracias or?
It was Ireland.
Ireland, okay.
I could read it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on this motion? We have a motion second for purchasing electronic speed indicators from TAPCO in the amount of $7,467.68 for Wolf Street. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Item B, to continue discussion regarding new Tyson campus plan and tax increment financing, a TIF request and possible action. And it does note we may go into closed session later. Item 1, discussion with Attorney Nathan Watier. Close enough? Okay. Representing Tyson, who will review the revised outline for the project. Tyson is requesting to increase his TIF assistance request from $850,000 to $1 million, but will increase the size of the building from 76,000 to 86,000 square feet. So, welcome, Nathan.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
all
you for
yours
having
right
me
now.
again. I think Matt and Mike did a nice job in the outline, and I know you also have that document there that shows a comparison versus the last outline that I'd spoken about a couple meetings ago. A couple things that I'll add to highlight in regards to the changes. So as noted here, the request is going from 850 to 1 million. The building size is increasing from 76,000 to 86,000. And Jason is also upping the minimum amount of cost for that. So instead of a minimum of 8.5 million spent on the project, a minimum of 11 million is now going to be spent. So when we're talking about 10% of the total project cost up to $1 million, when he spends 11 million and you put in $1 million, it's going to be about 9% instead of 10% that's coming in. And then the other item that I wanted to note as well, which is in the red line, is that Jason's going to defer to the village in regards to whether you think it's in your best interest to use general obligation debt or the state trust fund loan. The state trust fund loan provides a flat fee, which ends up being, I think, approximately $100,000 less in interest, which may be appealing to the village. And if that is chosen, Jason would then be coming out of pocket for a shortfall those first 3-4 years and taking a risk that he's actually producing the increment that would pay back that loan and pay back what he came out of pocket for in those first few years. Happy to answer any additional questions as well.
Are there questions?
Yep.
Can I ask, why the change?
So the costs have gone up.
Okay.
So originally Jason was hoping to do this entire project at 8.5 million. The costs from his general contractor have increased pretty significantly, and that's why he's asked for the additional funds, but it's
All right.
also why the square footage is going up, the cost will go up, and hence the anticipated assessment and the increment should also go up as well.
Okay, thank you.
And we should know Jason would have been here tonight, but he was out of town on business, so that's why.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Was there any, for the cost of construction, was there any, like, one or two things that stuck out as far as that? Like, I guess I'm curious if it's the increases because they went larger, is it because of the materials and all that kind of stuff, or?
I did see the budget, and I don't remember the specific line items, but in talking generally with Jason, it was both labor costs as well as construction and materials costs that have gone up.
Thank you.
And it's also, as he's gone through the process, those numbers have gotten more refined from the ballpark figures that were originally presented to him at the beginning.
Sure.
Questions, comments, anyone?
My only comment is I don't think this is the right project for the village at this time, and I like it $150,000 less.
Okay.
So I'll be a no vote.
Yeah. Okay, that'll take us to item 2 then. Review of updated informational borrowing spreadsheets for the Tyson campus plan project based on an 86,000 square foot building.
And so in your packet is the Ellers information. And basically, the GL bond was going to capitalize the interest of about almost $90,000 which is one reason why it's more expensive overall. And Jason's saying that since it's the village's decision, he's going to be taking that little bit of a risk that he's going to have to cover that, because that's part of the agreement to cover the debt service for that. I think Lisa and we talked about this a little bit. I think we're leaning towards doing a state trust fund loan, to be honest with you. And so we want to talk to Ellers a little more about it, but I think we're probably leaning towards doing that.
Okay.
And but because Nathan's right, that it is overall a little bit less expensive. If we did it, we probably would be rolling this in with our 2019 borrowing, which so that we pulled $1 million out of that borrowing, it would reduce our fees a little bit. So again, it's probably why we're going to look at the state to get the money.
If I could just briefly mention, if you look at the schedule, the Eller schedule described as option 2, that's the state trust fund loan option. You'll see under the column that's entitled balances, there's an annual deficit in 3 years, 2019, 20, and 21. Those are years that if we use the GO bonds, we would capitalize interest during those years.
That's at 89.
Yeah, but instead, with the state trust fund loan, Jason has agreed that he would pay those deficits in those early years. The agreement would be structured so that if the TIF generates enough cash flow over the life of the district, he'd have an opportunity to recover those dollars on the back end. The current projections show that would be possible. But that's how we would structure the agreement if the board authorizes us to move forward with that step.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Any questions on this item? Okay, we'll go to item 3, discussion of possible board action to authorize village staff to continue working on the required TIF agreement for the March 18th board meeting, and then provide direction on whether we should use a taxable general obligation bond or state trust fund loan. So first would be the motion to have village staff continue working on the required TIF agreement, if we want to do that now.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that?
I'll just mention briefly, what I'm going to do is request that Attorney Wadier do the first draft of the agreement and send it to me for my review. And that'll help save cost a little bit too.
Yeah, that's okay.
Happy to do that.
Questions, comments? So we have that motion to have staff continue working on the required TIF agreement for TICE for the March 18th board meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
It's a 6-1 vote. And then we have any feedback on state trust fund loan or general obligation bond. Mike, you said the staff prefers a state trust fund loan?
Yes. Yep.
We need a motion on that, or just a nod?
I think we would, if it's okay, we will just bring that, I think we have to have the board vote at March 18th meeting to direct us to get the application from the state. So that's when the vote would actually take place.
Okay.
But we'll prepare, unless it directs otherwise, we'll prepare with that assumption in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Will you be bringing this schedule back this winter? Because this really tells the story to me. The state trust fund loan, not only according to you, is a lot easier, but it carries less costs.
Yes. I could put in the packet again, sure.
Yeah, please do,
Sure.
because it kind of reinforces your reasoning for doing it.
Sure.
Anything else? Okay, so then item 4 just notes, at the March 18th board meeting, the board will also be requested to begin the borrowing process for the project. Okay, I think we're all set. Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.
Item 6, village attorney, village administrator. Item A, discussion of possible action regarding ordinance relating to electronic smoking devices and providing tobacco products to minors, the first reading. Recommended motion is to waive the first reading of ordinance number 19-01, and there's additional information in the packet.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
So
we have the ordinance on electronic smoking devices and tobacco products to minors. So, Randy?
Can I, so, when I read through this, I saw we addressed kind of the issues we talked about last time, was the first one was 2.3. After the on the third sentence, containing nicotine, we had talked about putting in or other substance in there, and I just want to, I want to make sure we close that loophole.
Yeah, so I did look at that today, and here's my suggestion. So this is on page 2, under section 2 of the ordinance, which amends section 9.27 of the code. You'll see we have section 9.27 sub 3. That's our definition of electronic smoking device. And so the suggestion was, on the third line of that language, where it says any product containing nicotine that can be used with such a device, you were suggesting any product containing nicotine or any other substance that can be used. And my thought was, it might be simpler, I think it would be simpler to simply say, any product that can be used with such a device.
Okay, as long as we're covering that potential marijuana or.
That's what
other-
Randy's concerned about.
Yeah,
Okay.
and this would, yes,
Okay.
so that would take care of that.
All right.
And of course, we have other laws that deal with marijuana specifically, and my guess is that if someone is caught with marijuana, they're probably gonna be charged with possession of marijuana rather than possession of an electronic smoking device, but
Unless sometimes they legalize a smaller amount.
that's
That's what Randy was
that
talking
could be
about.
interesting, yeah. The one thing I will say that I still wasn't able to quite nail down today, it's a little tricky. If we say that, if we include in this definition, if we say any product that can be used with such a device, I'm having a little trouble just understanding what the universe of that looks like. What could one theoretically use with these devices? I'm not really worried about it as a practical matter, because the enforcement here is really going to be with respect to the products that are routinely sold for use with these devices. I did a little research on it today, more than I really wanted to know about these things, but, so I'm not really concerned about it.
Okay.
I
As long
think
as
that
you don't
changes
As long
fine.
as you don't think that there's still a loophole for marijuana, cocaine, whatever,
Well, it's
I'm
not-
okay.
I'm not worried about there being a loophole like that.
Yeah.
If I'm worried about anything, it's that now that we're being over-inclusive, that we're including within the definite, we're saying possession of any product that can be used with one of these devices, and I was looking, well, what could one theoretically stick in one of these things and use it?
Right.
Are we gonna be outlining half the stuff in the cleaning supply aisle at the grocery store was what I was worried about. And I think the answer is no, because you've got to have the right kind of chemical substance
Right.
that will allow it to convert
Yeah.
to a vape,
The
to
vapor,
vaporize it
yeah.
or whatever.
Mhm.
So I think it's fine.
Okay.
I also think it makes it easier from a law enforcement perspective. Now we're not gonna have to, if we just say any product containing, or that can be used with a device, instead of any product containing nicotine, now we don't have to prove there's nicotine in there.
Right, right. And the challenge is always going to be what's coming out next.
Yeah.
And
There's
how
stuff that
do
we don't
we-
even know about.
Right, I mean, if we're talking about Schedule 1, 2 drugs, we can deal with that on a separate issue, but I have no idea what these products are going to entail next, so. And how do we enforce that?
So, is there a motion on the table?
Yes, there is. Yep.
Or is this for first reading?
This is first reading, that's all.
Oh, okay.
Wait the first reading.
So if you want to direct us to make that change for the second reading, we can certainly do that. Or was this on for adoption tonight?
No, it's first reading.
Yeah, we can certainly make that change.
I'm okay with.
So- Okay.
I just wanted to clarify for item C under recitals. We had talked when we originally brought up this motion that we wanted to make sure that there was no smoking indoors at any places of employment. And so that, I believe that was the clause that would cover that, but I wanted to make sure.
That's actually down on the second page of the ordinance,
Did I miss
section
it?
3.
Under 3, the statutes.
Which amends
Ah.
section 9.28.
Thank you.
At the very end, we're now saying that no person may use any electronic smoking device wherever smoking is prohibited by section 101.123 of the Wisconsin statutes, and that is the statewide smoking ban. So that covers any place that you're not allowed by state law to smoke.
So it takes care of all public workplaces.
All public places that are covered by state law.
So are we okay with what Randy has proposed? Has Matt explained that? And that would come back at the second reading, right?
Correct, yep.
Okay, so we'd vote on, procedurally vote on this motion tonight. Then it would be changed for the next reading, and that would be all okay? Okay. Any further discussion or question? Jeannie, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
I knew that
No, I
too.
had a question about part 1 of the ordinance with the section .23 where we're talking about prohibited on school grounds. Have we talked with the school about this? Do they know that this is coming?
Yeah, well, we've definitely spoken with the school, and they try to take as many of these devices as they can, but that's all they can do right now.
Okay. So
What?
I just want to make sure the school is aware of this and is on our side, the same page.
You know what, I'll send it to Dr. Belser. Thank
Yeah.
you, Gene, it's a good idea.
Because I know that I saw some email or memo about CBD use, and that they were going to allow CBD use
I
with like a doctor's note.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I don't know that any doctors that I'm aware of that allow it in an inhaling device, in a jewel pod or anything like that. I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, we would certainly have to talk
It was just,
about
I think it
that.
would be good to just make sure the school board
Yeah,
knows.
make
that
sure they
this-
get it.
Okay.
Yep, thank you, that's a good idea.
But they were the ones that initially suggested that because
Okay,
all they
good.
could do was take it.
Good, okay.
Yeah.
Amanda?
Under section 1, point, I don't know what it is here, 3, the penalty. What, when it talks about forfeiting not less than $25 nor more than 500, and then later on, it talks about not less than 50 or more than 500, is that because it seems like this is all about on school grounds. Why is there a different amount?
Yeah, let me look at, because we're not changing the existing forfeiture amounts. All we're doing is adding the electronic smoking
Oh,
device
okay.
to the existing language. So the rest of
Yeah.
that penalty language is what the ordinance provides for today.
Currently.
And honestly, I didn't go back and like evaluate that language, so
Okay.
if you want me to be prepared to speak a little more clearly to what those forfeiture amounts are and why they are, that way I can do that more at the next meeting. But you're right, those particular
didn't make
penalty
sense to me.
provisions, so those
Okay.
particular forfeiture provisions do apply just to this on school grounds section.
Right. Is that-
And
is
I
that-
honestly am not, I don't know why they're different. I don't know if there's a policy reason or if it's tied to state law. It's 25 to 500 versus 50 to 500. The other thing so that's the range that's permissible, and you may decide you think that range is appropriate or not appropriate. There's another thing we're gonna be working on soon, which is our deposit schedule, which will actually identify the amount that will actually be put on a citation if someone is cited. And that would be somewhere within this range.
Well, I know that, if for smoking on school grounds is like a worse, in the eyes of the law is a more severe penalty than smoking other places where you're not supposed to smoke. And so I didn't know if there was a difference between the tobacco, like regular cigarettes or the e-cigarettes. It has nothing to do with that.
Well, under this
right?
provision, it would be the same penalty whether it's a conventional cigarette or an e-smoking device.
Right.
It would be the same.
All right. Well, I guess we should look at why that's different, because it's just not clear here, but,
You mean why it's in one case
Why there's a different
25
minimum,
and in the
yeah.
other it's 50?
yeah.
Yeah, and my guess is there's a historical reason for that I
Okay.
just am not aware of. In
Okay.
terms of the board made a decision.
It's
at
just
some
something I noticed when I
time
was
in the
reading it.
past. Well, and the question I guess the policy issue for the board is, do you think that's an appropriate range, for that violation?
So that'll come back the next time.
It'll be back the next meeting.
Have time to think about it.
But doesn't the municipal judge determine the range, determine the amount?
Well, so this board determines the range
Right.
that the judge has to work with.
Right.
Okay, and so that's one step in the process. The next step in the process is the approval of this deposit schedule, which you're gonna see in the not-too-distant future. Both the municipal court judge and this board have to approve that. And that would identify, again, what amount within that range an officer is required to actually put on the citation. So if you get a ticket, is it gonna be a $100 ticket? Is it gonna be a $500 ticket, okay? And you'll have to approve that as well as the judge. And then finally, if somebody actually appears in front of our municipal court judge and the judge finds them guilty, the judge has the authority, notwithstanding the deposit schedule, to impose a forfeiture. But again, within this range. So this body sets the parameters that will then control the rest of the process from a forfeiture standpoint.
Okay, any additional questions or comments on this item? So we have the motion second then to waive the first reading of ordinance number 19-01. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item 6B, discussion possible action on resolution number 19-01. That's the same number as the one before.
It's, one is an ordinance, one's a resolution.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay, resolution 19-01, approving the agreement to undertake development in the plat of Autumn Ridge, so Hofer Development, Phase 1B, and releasing Phase 1B lots from restrictive covenants. The recommended motion is to approve resolution number 19-01.
I'll move.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments you'd like to make, or? You don't have to.
Green light approved.
You gathered that.
Yeah.
Any comments from staff?
Just the next phase.
Any questions or comments here?
So, yeah, I was just gonna ask about the wording, the restrictive covenant. And this is literally just going to the next phase, or?
So the release of restrictive covenants, the reason that's in there is because this is a phase development. Lots that are in future phases are restricted, they can't be sold.
Okay.
And so what this does is it releases the lots in this next phase from those restrictions. So the developer, once this agreement's signed and that's signed, the developer can then start selling lots within that phase. That's what that's about.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's the map.
Thank you.
There's the map, you wanna see where
So
the phases.
They did 1A
The
last
map's up on
year,
the screen.
Yeah.
and then this is 1B.
So does that mean 1A is all sold? Are they all?
No, just
No, it's just
selling well.
the next step. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? So we have the motion second to approve resolution number 19-01. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. You got your wish.
So, hey, Blaine, could you, we're gonna have you sign stuff today?
I'll bring it back with them signed.
Yeah,
Well, you guys go on with other.
I can
Okay.
do the last thing.
Okay, item C, discussion possible action regarding the life estate deed for Hermson Conservancy Park. Recommended motion, approve that the village shall name the property the Hermson Conservancy Park.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Was that a request from the Hermson family?
So, just 1 second, guys, 1 second, please. So, someone in Matt's office looked at this, and Eileen has been the attorney looking at this, and she felt that we're not signing this, the family didn't ask us to do this, but she recommended that we just reaffirm again that when the park becomes a park, this is the name of the park.
Okay.
I think it would be good to ask the family if that's what they want us to do.
Oh,
Well, they want, yes, they do. I mean, it's in their state. It's in, if you look at,
Yeah, so my question was this a request from the family to name it the Hermson Conservancy Park?
yeah, it's actually in their warranty deed.
So the answer is yes?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
actually-
you're asking me a trick question?
No, they actually-
Jeff would never do that.
I can't come up with a trick question.
No, they can't wait for this to happen. Yeah.
They actually appeared here and made that request too.
Any further questions or comments on this? So we have the motion second to approve that the village shall name the property the Hermson Conservancy Park. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 7, approval of minutes. We have minutes tonight from January 22nd, 2018, and November 19th, 2018. Just need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any additions or corrections? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 8 is approval of vouchers. We have vouchers tonight in amount of $525,010.26.
I'll move that.
Second.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes.
Me too.
You want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay. From L.W. Allen, sewer repair at Richard Road Lift Station.
yes.
Did that cause any damage to any residential
No,
properties?
no, that, we just noticed we were having some issues with the pump and some bearings needed to be replaced. And so LW Allen came out and basically replaced the seals and bearings.
So it
and
didn't
other-
cause any
Nope.
service?
No, and, yeah, I mean, we were down to one pump, I think, for a while, but, yeah, no
Okay.
problems.
Thank you. Next one is number 10281 to Mid-State Equipment for the Skag Turf Tiger 2 lawnmower, I'm guessing.
Correct.
Is that a budgeted expenditure?
Yes, yep, and that was approved, the procurement of that was approved, brought before the village board and approved. That's for the cemetery mower that we bought.
Very good, okay.
Yeah.
And that come in under?
It did. It came in right where
it's
we
supposed
brought
to
it
be?
for you, yeah.
Okay. Number 12662, Max R Recovery, it's for brush grinding. What do we normally spend a year on brush grinding? Is
That's,
that about pretty typical for a year, half a year, or
that's pretty typical.
for a whole year or half?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Okay.
anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000.
What does a brush grinder cost approximately?
That one,
Yeah.
probably $300,000-$400,000.
And I don't have any more questions. I was just wondering if it might
The machine that we have come in, we call it the tub grinder, and it can, and I'm just guessing on that as far as, I know it's a very expensive, it's a
Okay.
750 horsepower grinding machine that can grind up to 36-inch diameter logs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
It's
saw
a-
the amount we're spending here and wondering if it would be appropriate to buy one. Put it in the budget.
Right, right.
You don't need to
Don't
prompt
encourage-
Jeff to buy
Yeah,
equipment.
don't encourage him, Jerry.
I hear what you're saying.
I got a lot more stuff to buy
Well,
before
no,
that,
we-
Jerry.
No,
We
I
gotta
don't-
make sure he
I don't
lets
wanna
us
buy-
know first.
I don't wanna buy one.
Yes.
I wanna buy a snow melter.
Those are my questions.
Randy, you had a question?
Page 4, 3216. Mike, maybe this might be for you. Gorman, $54,000?
It's part of the red brick agreement.
Yeah, could you just quick?
So,
let me
so
know?
that was when it started in '06, I think, right, Lisa? I think it was '06.
Sure.
'05. So we have an amount in an agreement with Gary that we encourage him to renovate the red brick when he bought it he pays us his property taxes and we return it as a TIF incentive up to a certain amount. I do not remember the total what it is. We,
615 or something? 615?
615, yeah,
Something
so,
like that.
yeah, somewhere in the 600. So we think that,
Next year.
I think next year, or so 2020 will be the last year we do it. So then when we stop doing that, then that incentive will just remain in TIF 5 as cash for us to use it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It was an incentive for him to renovate the red brick.
Okay.
Yep.
That's it.
Other questions? Okay, so we have a motion second to approve vouchers, the amount of $525 and $10.26. Roll call, please.
Jacobson?
Yes.
Glish?
Yes.
Staton?
Yes.
Carpenter?
Yes.
Boudreaux?
Yes.
Bollig?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Thank you. That carries. Item 9 is community input. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the board at this time? Seeing none, we'll go to item 10, proclamations and announcements. Item A, board comments. Anyone? Seeing none, we'll go to item B, staff comments. It's a list of upcoming meetings. Anything else from any staff over here?
I do want to note that we will have a committee meeting on March 25th, Jeannie. Start
Okay.
looking at the police department policies.
Okay.
Yep. And I listed out a special meeting on April 16th. That'll be the first meeting of the new board. We do it every year.
Okay, so please note those dates going forward. Item 11, communication and miscellaneous business. Item A, review of the library's Buzz newsletter and capital campaign. Progress update from February 2019, which is in our packet.
I told Jennifer she has so many night meetings to take the night
Yeah,
off.
I'm sure she does. I look at that list from February.
She is one busy person.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of work.
Mhm.
Okay, any question or comments on the library information there? It's very nicely done.
Yeah. I think she's doing a really good job of keeping us posted on the capital campaign.
Yeah.
I know that was something that Jerry, you asked for, so she's doing that
Yeah,
on
I
a
did.
monthly basis for you. Yep.
No, she's, it's very much appreciated
Yep.
too.
I'll tell her that.
Yeah.
Okay, item B, discussion of possible action regarding the Public Works Cold Storage Building to deduct the change order. The recommended motion is to approve the deduct change order from Supreme Structures, the amount of $3,956.25 for seating area behind the new Public Works Cold Storage Building.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
This is just cleanup. As we get to the end of a project, we want to be able to close out that project. We can do the seating and behind the building, and they brought it to us, and we said, just give us the amount, and the amount seemed reasonable. So my guys will just take care of the seating and the matting this spring.
Yeah, good. Questions or comments?
No, I just thank Supreme Structures for working with us like that.
Absolutely. They've been fantastic to work with.
Yeah. I think that's the first time a change order's gone in that direction.
Yeah,
So,
I actually didn't even
mark
know
the
what that meant the first time I read it. I'm
A
like,
deduct change order?
Yeah, I know.
I've never
That's
seen
something
that.
Yeah.
Thought it
Yeah,
was
so
just-
thank you.
Yeah.
Can we just take the money and say thank you?
Okay, so we have the motion to approve that deduct change order in the amount of $3,956.25 for seating behind the new Public Works Cold Storage Building. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item C, discussion and possible action regarding Public Works Cold Storage Building, pay request number 4. Recommend a motion to approve that pay request number 4 from Supreme Structures for the amount of $82,905.84.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you.
This is just like pay request number 4. Everything's in line. Yeah, really no comment on it. Again, they've done a fantastic job. They've done a nice job also following up with the punch list items and cleanup items, which sometimes can take a while, so.
Yeah, good.
Good management there.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item D, discussion and possible action regarding task order number 6, the Janesville Park Street intersection engineering. Recommend a motion to approve the task order number 6 with Town and Country Engineering for the amount of $62,400 for engineering services associated with the design, bidding, and construction support for the Janesville Park Street intersection project.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
You awarded this already. This is just the approval of the task order.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item E, discussion and possible action regarding Jefferson Street and South Main Street parking lot lighting and the electrical improvement project. This is payment application number 1. Recommend motion is to approve that application from United Electric Incorporated in the amount of $31,436 for the Jefferson Street and South Main Street parking lot lighting and electrical improvement project.
I'll move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
It's happening. It's
Yeah,
finally
I know.
happening.
Hallelujah.
This is-
We got
they're
some
buying,
money.
they're buying stuff they need
This
and
is stored
storing it,
materials, yeah,
so.
basically, so they have it on.
You pay the bill.
Yeah, and we've seen the invoices and everything, and.
I say, don't jinx us.
No.
Yeah.
And it's for bonds and insurance too.
Okay.
Good.
We'll move quickly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item F, discussion and possible action declaring police equipment surplus and sending squads to auction. Recommend motion to approve the police department equipment listed in February 26, 2019 memorandum of surplus and authorize sending a 27 Crown Vic and Ford Explorer Squad 117 to auction.
So moved.
Second.
Pretty self-explanatory. We've had the Crown Vic for a very long time now, so the folks would like to get rid of that. And 117 is our highest mileage vehicle, so.
Apologize for not getting Blues Brothers
Yeah.
thing up on the screen for this part.
There you go.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item G, review of the following police department policies by Chief Ewell and possible board action. Recommend a motion to approve those policies, and we have received this previously, so let's get the motion a second, then go through them.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Thank you.
How do you want me to proceed? I can go through them individually, or if you have questions, I'm happy to answer questions.
I'd be happy if you just answered questions.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep. All right.
Are
What
there any?
questions do you have?
Amanda?
I only have one.
All right.
The fleet, under fleet operation and seatbelt use, I noticed in the last paragraph on that one, you talk about having child seats for kids
Yeah.
without ages 4 and under.
Yeah.
But I know kids up to age 8 require booster seats.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, were you gonna include that, or if you didn't, can you explain why?
We have those. You know, the part of this is just to make sure that we have all of the seat car seats available. Why I didn't put other ages in there, I didn't think it was needed, quite honestly. We have it, and we practice that now, so,
Okay,
yeah.
just wondering. I
Very good.
noticed it was
Yep.
out
Just
there.
good reading before bedtime, chief.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did it put you to sleep?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Got
good
a good
work.
night's sleep.
Any other questions?
I have some questions. Let's see, where to start. Okay, for communication system rules for 4A through D, this is just like not necessarily asking for a change, just curious. So I believe I had a conversation with you recently about how I got to witness an interaction with an officer and another person. And one of the things that, in reading that, I thought, well, that, and this is, again, not sure that's necessary, but I thought, after a stressful situation like that, do we afford the officers any opportunity to like take a moment to calm down before they have to do the next thing? And I know that probably sounds like
Yeah.
strange, but
Absolutely, and they have an opportunity to, if they feel they need to go and de-stress, or those options are out there for them.
Okay.
So they're absolutely able to do that.
okay. 'Cause I
We're not-
the idea of leaping to the next
Yeah.
incident right away just seems very
Yeah. If it's a critical incident, they're usually taken off duty anyway, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Second one, for confidential informants, 5C1A, when you talk about juveniles, you ask for only the permission of a parent. Do we, if they don't have a parent, like a legal
The
guardian?
guardian,
or-
yeah, I could probably add that word in there.
Okay,
That's
I just
something,
didn't
yeah.
know, I didn't know like how strict you wanted to be with these, so I thought I would ask about that.
I can tell you that 99.999% of the time, we don't use juveniles, so it doesn't happen very often. Yeah.
All right, cool. And then, so for the department management catch-all bucket, when you were listing the different items that the supervisors needed to keep track of that were, I think it was $100 or more, correct? So most things were detailed, firearms and things, but then you had Axion equipment, and I didn't know if that was like a grouping of items or if that is referencing one specific thing, or,
Axon equipment is everything to do with our cameras, our on-officer cameras.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
All right.
Okay.
You bet.
Anyone else? Questions? Okay, so we have the reports from the police department, the policies. So we have a motion to approve those departmental policies. I'm going to read through those for the public who might be watching. Communications processes, confidential informants, confidential reports, criminal justice information system, department management, facility access control, field reporting management, fiscal management, fleet operation, seatbelt use, and hostage barricade situation. We have those policies before us, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
So I'll be sending 10 more out this week, in case you're wondering.
Thank you for
We
indulging
have
me.
two more waves of these.
Two more waves, yeah.
We'll be done.
Okay, can I ask a general question? In general, are these brand new policies, or are they replacing policies?
They're pretty much all brand-new policies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alex
That's awesome.
had asked a question too from the Observer, and there are only 11 mandated policies from the state that are per state statute. There are a few other recommended ones that they have. But most of these are all new policies that we're doing. Again, we're really doing it this way anyway. This just puts it down officially in writing and gives officers guidance, so. yeah.
Could I just follow up on that? Because Chief, I think that I may have seen a big 3-ring binder with old Village of Oregon Police Department policies.
Yeah.
And my guess is that some of the new policies that you're developing might, in a sense, replace those old ones. And I don't know if
Yeah.
maybe it makes sense for us to formally get rid of the old ones as you develop the new ones.
Yeah, I forgot about those. Thanks for bringing that
There
up.
is
There
one.
are some, there are some very old policies, back from the 70s, old policies. And they do touch on a fraction of some of this stuff. But yeah, I think, I don't know what the process is gonna be for,
Kind of repealing, because we wouldn't,
yeah,
I mean, they're out there.
right.
There's probably not a very good record of them
They're
ever
not-
having been approved by anyone.
There are binders that are at the police department, but they're not accessible to the officers anymore. And then, go ahead.
Well, you go ahead, and then I have an idea.
And then electronically, I've moved the old policies out as well, so they don't confuse which policies they're looking at. But yeah, I don't know, does the board then gonna have to say, okay, we were repealing the old policies?
Matt, at the end of the process, can't we just make a motion that these policies make any previous policies mute?
That was exactly what I was
Yeah.
thinking, is once you get
Moot.
all of the policies approved that you want approved,
Yeah,
and if you're comfortable saying, these are all of the Village of Oregon Police Department policies today, then the board could
Yeah.
take some formal action to say, any policies that predate these are null and void, or something like
Yeah.
that.
good.
Once you
Yeah.
get to that point.
Great. Thanks, Jeannie, good question, yeah.
Might be
Yeah.
easier.
I think, I was saying to, maybe we'll do it by resolution for the record, that way somebody ever has to look it up, we can tell
Yeah.
when these were
Yeah.
adopted.
Again, when I took the position, there were 70s and, I think, 76 and some 80s, so they were old. I know,
There was an attempt, Brian.
I know Lieutenant Sherman was starting
Yeah, I
to
was gonna say
work
that,
on
right.
some other
It just never got
policies,
done.
just never got done, so, yeah.
So we should have a send-off party.
Bollock moved in, Randy seconded.
Cake, there should be cake.
Yeah,
Did
donuts?
we vote yet?
Can we do donuts?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
I don't recall we did,
We're
but
still
that was me.
talking about it.
We
No,
just
I
finished.
No, I think we did.
Well,
Did
you
we?
just had
We
one more
did?
question. That was
Yeah, I
how
think
we-
you're right.
No, we voted, because
We
I said
voted.
thank you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Okay,
I
sorry
don't
about
remember voting.
I remember now, when we voted, I thought, good, I'm done, I can turn this over to Jeff, so.
Yeah, sorry.
Item 12, report of committees, Public Works and Utility, February 25, 2019. Trustee Boudreau.
So I'm bringing forward a recommendation from Public Works and Utility for discussion and possible action that we add 2 crosswalks and signage to East Netherwood Road at Oak Mary Hill and at North Perry Parkway intersections. This was recommended and moved by Jerry, seconded by Amanda. And we're bringing it to the village board now, like I said, to discuss and act. And the Public Works and Utility Committee voted 3-0 to recommend
Thank you.
that we do add these crosswalks.
So we need a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. So this was brought forward by the parent of a high school student that crossed Netherwood every day, and was a good recommendation. The committee discussed it, looked at it, and said we should, so. Questions or comments? Okay, so we have the motion and second to approve adding 2 crosswalks and signage to East Netherwood Road at Oak and Mary Hill and North Prairie Parkway intersections. Motion carried 3-0. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Oh.
Opposed? Okay.
Can I just point out
You
for
can.
the public that the crosswalk on the map of that intersection is on the wrong side?
We'll
Where
be
it's
putting
gonna
it
be.
on this side of the word.
Okay.
Yep.
Just to be
I said I
clear.
was gonna correct that map for this meeting.
Just in case anybody's at home looking at it, we're
Made
We're
a
gonna.
talking about it in
liar.
August when you're putting in a third one.
We wanted it farther away from that hill.
Yes,
so
and we will.
That's why.
Yep.
Just good seeing you.
Okay, item 13, minutes not requiring action, there are none. Item 14, unfinished business, table to future meeting, the flashing beacons at Oregon Middle School. Item 15, new operator licenses approved by the police department at Mahans, James A. Walter, so we need that motion, please.
Make that motion.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you. Questions, discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. That takes us down to future agenda items to read through. There's a nice long list there.
See, may I interrupt before you read the
Yeah.
closed session? Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, that's fine.
So, we'll need to go into closed session for the post office,
Oh,
and, because we need to talk about Tyce.
yeah.
And I just asked Matt if we could actually, because we're not gonna come out and take any action on the post office, so we could actually adjourn from closed session, which helps Dan.
Okay.
Dan doesn't have to stay, and so we can just, and we can, plus we just stay in the room too.
Yeah, so we do need to go for the post office lease, right?
Yeah, so we need to go into closed session, but I think you could just let people know that the board intends to adjourn
Yeah.
from closed session.
Okay.
We don't intend to come back and take further action on
Okay.
anything.
Thank you.
So the board may meet in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851E to discuss a new post office lease. We need that motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Boudreaux,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Bollig,
Yes.
Staton,
Yes.
Glish,
Yes.
Jacobson.
Okay. Well, thank you. We'll go into closed session. We will adjourn from closed session and not be back on air.
Thank you.